JLB, back with another installment of Animated Television History Tour, and today we're going to be talking about one of the most interesting yet most underrated shows of the 60s. And whatever you're thinking it might be, it's not it. I'm talking about a show that was pretty much forgotten about after its time. A little show called Deputy Dawg. Now, Deputy Dawg is the name of both the show and the character. You see, the Deputy Dawg show, as it was called, first ran on a weekly basis between September 8th of 1962 to May 25th of 1963, with no new episodes on December 8th to December 29th of 1962, resuming on January 5th of 63. Every broadcast had an episode of Deputy, followed by Dingbat, and then Silly Sydney, two other Terry Toons characters, which Deputy Dawg is. He's a Terry Toon character, like Mighty Mouse. The British television debut of Deputy Dawg actually came around on BBC TV on Saturday, August the 31st of 1963. The cartoons were between 4 and 6 minutes long, and they were packaged 3 at a time and shown as a half-hour program. The show was also produced by CBS and was the professional animation debut of an in-betweener of adult animation called Ralph Bakshi, or Bakshi, or whatever. If you don't know who Ralph Bakshi is, I'm in the same boat. I prefer the history of animation and television shows. I'm not necessarily up to speed on the people behind them, but we might see his name pop up again, so keep that in mind. Anyway, there are also 6 additional titles that were released theatrically for show in cinemas, which were not part of the original TV package. And one of those, along with an episode of the Deputy Dawg show that I found on YouTube, were Nobody's Ghoul and Just Ghost to Show Ya. Those were the episodes that introduced me to Deputy Dawg. But let's just get to the plot of the show. Now, as the name of the show suggested, the main character of the show is a dog by the name of Deputy Dawg. That's D-A-W-G. He's a deputy sheriff in the state of Florida, but as the show progressed, he ended up becoming deputy sheriff of Mississippi and then deputy sheriff of Tennessee. And quite frankly, I think I'd much rather prefer him as the deputy sheriff of Tennessee, considering the fact that, well, it mostly takes place out in the wooded area, and there's not very many wooded areas around here in Florida. Mississippi? Maybe, but it's mostly Tennessee. Anyway, the other main characters include Muskie the muskrat, Moly Mole, Possible Possum, Tycoon the raccoon, Vincent Van Gopher, Big Newton, and Dog's boss, the sheriff, as well as Mrs. Deputy. Now, Deputy Dawg was voiced by Dayton Allen, who is a prolific actor who voiced many Terry Toon characters in television and theatrical shorts in the 50s and the 60s. Now, this show is pretty much a comedy, so to say. So, most of the comedy is sight gag / action based, with some focused around comical accents and stereotypical Southern characteristics. Now, if you're not too big a fan of Southern stereotypes, then you might not find any enjoyment out of Deputy Dawg. But anyway, many of the storylines involve Deputy protecting his produce, fruits and vegetables, from Muskie and Vince, while battling with some of the peculiar locals and trying to please the sheriff. However, most of the crimes committed by Muskie and Vince weren't treated seriously, and Deputy Dawg was on friendly terms with them most of the time, except that time when he had to perform his duties as a lawman and keep them from causing trouble. Anyway, Deputy would also pal around with Muskie and Vince just as often as he would lock them up in the jailhouse, and the trio would often engage in their favorite pastime, that being fishing for catfish. And of course, the central location for many of the yarns is in the jailhouse. Now, the music director was Philip A. Sheeb, born April 4th, 1895 in New York City, departed April 1969, who also worked on Sidney's Family Tree from 1958, and The Juggler of Our Lady, also from 58. The musical accompaniment often featured a distinctive bass harmonica. But of course, after the 60s, Deputy Dawg kind of fell by the wayside. Other than appearing in episodes of the 1987 series, Mighty Mouse New Adventures, which we will get to in a later season, and appearing in the 1999 pilot Curbside, he did have a small VHS release and DVD appearances around here and there. But other than that, pretty much nobody remembers Deputy Dawg. But is he really worth remembering? Well, with only about 34 episodes of the show, plus the 6 that were sent to theaters, which would make about 40 episodes total, I'd say that it's probably worth revisiting Deputy Dawg. I gotta say, after watching at least 2 episodes, I definitely have to say that this show is definitely underrated. Probably needs more attention. So, if you were a kid in the 60s and you were watching Deputy Dawg, definitely try and find some episodes of Deputy Dawg on YouTube. Might jog your memory a bit about this character. But anyway, thanks so much for joining me. Stay tuned because we're nearing the end of the year 1962 for our Anime Television History Tour, and we're going to be nearing 1963. But our next show, well, let's just say it's a blast from the past that will take you to the future. And I'll just leave it at that. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, stay animated.